One of the main questions that we get asked a lot is how our daughter became short gut. Um, I don't think we share that all the way, but she, when I was 12 weeks pregnant, we did an ultrasound where they saw that there was something happening in the development, especially in the abdomen area. Uh, and They were not sure what it was because the baby was very small and they couldn't really tell, but they knew that there was something not right. They had different theories. At first, they thought it was maybe gastroschisis. It was around the belly button area where they could see that it wasn't closing up. You know, like when the baby's developing, um, all we all have all these organs developing, and little by little they go inside in the abdomen, and then they close up, and that's where you have your belly button, you know. But in her case, they were seeing that after 12 weeks, it wasn't closing up; it was staying out. I mean, it was covered by a membrane, by the skin, but it was just not pushing all the way in like it should. So they were, but they couldn't really tell. It was hard to see, and they thought maybe it was gastroschisis, or they also said maybe it was a hernia, just developing. And the other thing that they told me is that it could also be an omphalocele, which I have never heard of what was an omphalocele before. Um, so, and each of them had, brought uh, different complications that could happen. So they did, tell us all the pros and cons about each one. And at the beginning, they were very, the doctors were not supporting the pregnancy as much. They were more like towards pushing us to, uh, giving us the option to terminate the pregnancy, just because of all the different outcomes that could happen, even if it was either of them, like gastroschisis or follicle, or um, and if you don't know, like gastroschisis basically is where the organs, especially the intestines, they grow outside the abdomen area, like they're just floating out outside the stomach, or the belly button area. It could be the intestines or any other organs. And that causes different complications. Omphalocele is like gastroschisis, but it is covered by a membrane, by the skin, that is still outside the abdomen, but it's covered. And they have different type of omphalocele. Some of them are small, some of them are big. The big ones, have like intestines and the liver, and the gallbladder, whatever, more organs, and that complicates things a lot more. The small ones, it could be just one piece of organ, like an intestine. But either way, they bring complications along the way, especially when they're born. So doctors were not so optimistic at the beginning. I mean, they did tell us all the good and the bad, so it was very hard for us to, um, uh, take the news, and we didn't know, we only we decided to rely on God and just let it be however He wanted to be. But we did felt pressure about terminating the pregnancy, just because I guess doctors knew how bad it could get, and you know. Anyway, so we did find out at 12 weeks, and then I went and did many follow-ups every 2 weeks or so to see the progress of the baby and to determine what it was that was going on. So as the pregnancy went along, the doctors determined that it was in fact an omphalocele and not a gastroschisis or a hernia. So it did. There was a part of the organ, especially the intestine, sticking out. It was covered by a membrane, so in a way it was a good thing, but still it wasn't the ideal scenario. And it was a very small omphalocele. And so we thought that, it's small, no problems, it could be very easily fixed after she's born. They can do surgery and, gets it done. But as we got advice from different doctors, we found that out that, in fact, the smallest omphalocele are the ones that bring more surprises than the big ones. So we were like, doesn't make any sense. The big ones should have more problems. I mean, they have a lot more problems too, but they also warn us, like, just small ones also bring their surprises, and we just never knew what kind of surprise it was. Anyway, we ended up we live in Virginia, Northern Virginia, but we started we knew that our daughter was dealing with this omphalocele stuff, and we went and did a little bit of research, and we found that the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia dealt a lot with omphaloceles, different type of omphaloceles, so we decided to go with them and deliver there. They also have a delivery unit right in the same hospital where your kid will be in the NICU, and you can see and be close to your child as they're doing any surgeries or anything like that. So we decided to go to Philadelphia and deliver there. They were great. The delivery unit is amazing. The doctors are just so professional, and they know definitely what they're doing. I was very amazed by all their support and their guidance and everything. They were just great. Highly recommend that hospital. So we ended up delivering at 35 weeks. Actually, at 34, because I was being followed up by my high-risk doctor. And at 33 or 34, I remember that they started to see a change in the omphalocele. They actually saw, they knew that there was a piece of intestine coming out in that little omphalocele, small type of omphalocele. But the intestine that was inside of that little ball, hernia or omphalocele, was starting to dilate, and so dilation meant that there was some kind of obstruction. So they were like, okay, that's not a good thing. There is an obstruction there, and we need to fix it as soon as possible. So we did, in fact, went to Philadelphia. They did more ultrasounds, more studies, and they agreed to that it was best for me to deliver at 35 weeks. Everything happened so fast. I mean, I wasn't really expecting to deliver that early, but they didn't want that dilated bowel to rupture, because that would have been even more complications and things like that. So the idea was just to get her out and do surgery on her right after, and take care of the obstruction, and you know just let her recuperate, and go home. That was the idea. That they thought that it was just an obstruction, and that was it. So we took the doctor's advice, and we delivered at 35 weeks. She weighed at 6 pounds, which was pretty surprising. I thought she was gonna be smaller, and she had no complications in the delivery. She cried like normal kid, and when I saw her, I was like, I couldn't really tell that there was anything wrong with her. You could tell the umbilical cord, like it sticks out and stuff like that, like any other baby. So I was like, there's anything wrong really? Because I don't see anything wrong. But doctors were like, you can't really see it from the outside. All of it is inside, because her follicle is so small. So I was like, okay. So for me, she looked normal, and she didn't have any problems with oxygen or anything like that. So anyway, 3 days after she was born, they did a exploratory surgery, with the hope to take care of that obstruction, and that was it. But when they went in to do the exploratory surgery, they found out that in fact her intestine did not develop all the way. That it had stopped developing at some point, because it was, I guess, it got kinked, or in that little follicle, on that little membrane that was covering it. Somehow it stopped the blood flow, and the intestine stopped developing all the way. So they found out that she never developed all her intestine, and she only had 50 centimeters of intestine, no ICV. The bowel, she didn't have that. She didn't have an ileum, and she didn't have what's it called? No ICV, no ileum, appendix, no appendix. So she was missing all of that, and she also was missing part of her colon. She only had I believe only the right colon, whatever. That's what they told us. I think it's 1/3 or 2/3 of the colon. So she was missing quite a bit of intestine. Although the doctor said 50 centimeters is the borderline, anything less than 50, that's when things can get harder to deal with. But 50 and up gives you a little bit more of a chance of coming off DPN. And for us, this was all new. I mean, we have never heard of shortcut. I remember when the doctors were talking, things were just going up on my head. I was like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. What is this? What does this mean? It was hard to assimilate everything, but when we actually sat down with the GI doctor, that's when everything made more sense. She was great at explaining, and we understood the severity of her case. So yeah, and when she was saying that she needed, IV nutrition, and that she wasn't going to be able to eat like normal babies. And I mean, it was just heartbreak. That's basically how our daughter became short gut. She became short gut because a follicle when she was in my belly developing. She somehow, and the question is, what why did she have an follicle? What created that? And doctors don't have an answer for that. They were just like, it just happens. Things like that just happens. Sometimes, things don't go the way that you want them to be. And many people were like, oh, probably, some people that like to judge, probably, she's a smoker, or, did drugs and things like that, or she didn't take her vitamins, and that was not the case at all. In fact, a very healthy eater. I consider myself. I was into the organics, everything organic, doing my green juices, the vegetable juices. I was eating very healthy when I was pregnant with my daughter. And what else? I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I'm pretty healthy. And we also did genetic testing. Nothing came up. So it's one of those things that just, happen. And it's not because of this or because of that. So it could happen to anybody. And also, after going through this, I found out that people can get short gut after they're born. I didn't know that either. And there are different reasons why you can go and suffer from short gut syndrome. So not necessarily when you're developing in the womb, it can happen afterwards too. I was pretty surprised about that too. Could happen to adults. So anyway, yeah, it's one of those things that they don't know. It's a big mystery. Why follicles form? Why gastroschisis forms? Sometimes they say in the environment or whatever, but I was never exposed to any chemicals or any. It's not like I live close to factories or anything like that. So I don't know. We don't know, and it's just one of those things that can happen. Hopefully, it doesn't happen. I don't wish that on anybody. But just so you know, it's easy to judge sometimes, but it's not always that case. I know for me it wasn't. So I learned a lot throughout this whole journey. Because I used to also question and think like, oh, probably, their baby's is sick because the mother didn't take care of herself, or, this and that. But now I see that that's not always the case. So anyway, just a little bit of history about us, about how we started this whole short gut journey. You want to share your story, I would love to hear it and learn from other parents how they came to this world and this short gut world. And if you have done this step, I would like to hear your experience, how the step has been working for you. Anyway, just share with us. We are always eager to learn more every day about this condition. So okay, that's all for today. Bye bye.